Welcome to Agape Social Justice, where we focus on love, truth, and justice. I am so excited, you all, today because we have a living legend in studio with us to tell us about her life story. I'll be honest, I first met Lavonia Perryman at a couple of events, and what I knew of her was to be a radio host. And then when I started doing my research and I recognized how many people she has touched in her life, I was just completely blown away. So I'm going to tell you right now, call someone, let them know, tune in, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, or RICC.TV and watch online. Lavonia, I am so glad we finally got a chance to connect.
Too. Yes, we've been passing each other,
Yes,
doing the work that we need to do in the community. I
yes,
met you because you were doing the work in the
yes,
community.
yes.
I gravitate towards people like you. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to meet her too.
I know. I
My
love it.
pleasure also.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I started talking to my husband a little bit about your bio, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I just cannot believe how many presidents you have worked with." So honestly, I don't even know where to begin. But tell the
Well,
audience how you got started into
I actually
activism.
got started, and this is time sensitive, but right on time conversation. When I was a little girl, my dad, he was and the first African American vice president of local UAW Local
Mm,
140. And so he was intricately involved in the union. Now I'm a little girl. I don't know anything. All I know is he goes to work. He makes sure that something is on the table. He makes sure that we ate together on Saturdays and Sundays. We actually had, believe it or not, there was a kitchen table with chairs around it, and the people sat in the chairs.
right.
And Dad cooked the food,
Okay.
and you ate the food, whatever was there. You didn't It wasn't like slop pizza there and a taco there. No, no, whatever was there. But then,
Right.
in the midst of all of that, I had a knack for drawing, a natural
Mm,
God gift to drawing. So my dad had to have placards and posters for the strikes and for the rallies and all that. And so he would sit me on the floor, and I would sit there, and he would put big pieces of paper or poster board in front of me, and I would draw and write down whatever he told me to write. And he would put it on those rods. Back in the day, they had to make their own signs and everything.
okay.
And I did that for him. And then as I grew up, I was very curious as I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was like my dad. They went to the rallies. They were supportive. They were poll workers. We're talking about the late 70s. They were
Mm,
poll workers working in the union, doing the strike. And they had 5 kids. They couldn't strike, but they did
mm,
for the good of the people. And so they took me with them. I don't know if they took me or I decided I wanted to go.
right.
But probably I was so rambunctious they needed to find and hold on to. My mother actually, this is a true story, actually had one of those. I don't know, you would know they actually sold these in the store. Little harnesses for children.
Oh wow.
It's the truth.
But they couldn't contain you.
They had harnesses for children. And my mom bought one. But anyway, I so that's where I got the
The
inspiration,
fire.
the fire.
Yes.
Watch them. And I remember my mother took me to see H. Rap Brown. H. Rap Brown, where we grew up on Burlingame between Dexter and Homer, was at the Dexter Theater. Malcolm X was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 blocks away in lot
Wow.
number 1 on Linwood. And my mom, they would go, and so I was the oldest child. None of the my brothers and sisters, they were doing marbles and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go. When the riot came, even then, I snuck out of the house trying to go up the street with an Instamatic camera, trying to take some pictures
Wow.
of the guards rolling down, the street. My mother yanked me off the street. That is where I got my inspiration, my mom and dad,
Mm,
Alex and Geneva Perriman. And then when I went to school, I saw things that weren't quite right. Didn't know, I didn't call myself a revolutionary. The word wasn't even in my vocabulary, but it's something not right. It was, in my car, I'm like, nah, I don't think so. this ain't working for me.
Right.
And no one ever called me out of my name, but it didn't work for me. And think about this. I must say this. I went to a Catholic school where I was only 7 blacks.
Mm.
And they might have called me out of my name after they left me or before they saw me, but they never called me out of my name in front of me. You know why? Because I would take off my uniform. I'd never had to. I never had to take off my shoes and my earrings, you know.
You went into fighting mode.
And they must have known. They were
Okay.
probably frightened of a black girl in the classroom, so they never bothered me. They never
Okay.
bothered me. So I never had that. I knew they were prejudiced, and I knew that they didn't know. And one of my best friends in high school, he says, I want the civil rights movement to be up for Livonia. But
Mm.
I don't know about those other people. We didn't speak for 5 years. Let me put it this way. I didn't speak for 5 years. So you don't want to be on the other side of me. Let me leap to presidential. So I
Okay.
went to college and I did whatever. And the thing about it, the professors kind of knew that, we gotta either keep her here or send her home.
Mm.
We're gonna keep her here because if we send her home, she's gonna tell on us
Mm.
about the inequality in the school. She's going to tell it. So everybody would always try to embrace me to hold on to me, blacks and whites. And so when I left college, I said, what am I going to do? And my mom was a teacher, so I was a teacher for a while.
Mm.
And then, when she wasn't teaching, she was going to the rallies and she was going to the meetings. They were going, and I was going too. And so after I graduated, I got in journalism. I was in radio and television, teaching radio and television, Channel 56. That's where I was. Thank you very much. That was my first Michigan Chronicle. I was writing,
Okay.
and I was doing all those things as a journalist. And Black History Month came about. And the superintendent of the school says there's only one person in the whole district that really knows about Black history. And so they sent me to the different radio stations. And I went to the different radio stations, and it must have been where they needed a Black girl in color
Mm.
and who could speak
Right.
and looked Black. Under this wig, there is an afro. But
Oh, let's not even go there. Okay.
there is an afro that I wore for 40 years. But my point to you, as I tell you this story, they offered me a job everywhere I went, and I took a job.
Mm.
And then so I was now I'm in radio and television. I'm out of teaching, radio and television. I go to the Congressional Black Caucus to speak to the congressional members like John Conyers, Congressman Diggs, Dellums, Adam Clayton Powell. They want me to speak about blacks in radio and television. Well, here I am. You asked, just like I came here, I went to Washington. I was offered a job. And I ended up anchoring the news in Washington, D.C., the number 3 market in the country.
Mm.
Well, one day, I'm going to leap years later. So one day I got to interview Rosa Parks and Jesse Jackson and so many other people. One day, Reverend Jackson came to me. I went to one of his meetings to cover it. He says, I'm getting ready to run for president. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, I need you to go with me. I was on the road for 11 years after that.
11 years.
11 years. Till this moment, this very moment, I'm still working with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Till this very moment, when this tape runs, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson is the only man, only company, only organization has paid me every year for my services in politics since 1984.
That's phenomenal.
That's the truth.
That's
Isn't
phenomenal.
that something?
It
I
is.
met him, and I ended up being his press secretary, running all his communication. So the first convention he did, San Francisco, when he gave that wonderful speech, I actually had my hands on that speech before anybody else because we had to proof it.
Mm.
It was 5 or 6 people who were in our room. We had to proof that particular historical speech. And I watched from the sideline, and I watched him give it. And I tell people, you can write a speech, but you can't give a speech.
Right.
It's 2 different things.
Right.
I mean, you have to be blessed with it's inside of you. Only Reverend Jackson could give the speech. We read the speech, only Reverend Jackson. Before I met Reverend Jackson, I did some work with President Carter when I first went to Washington, because I always made sure my toe was in politics. I always made sure. And so what I did after Reverend Jackson said, when he finished 80 through 84 and 88, he said, I need you to go to Arkansas with me. I'm like, what am I going to Arkansas
Right.
for?
What's in
I
Arkansas?
don't know anybody in Arkansas. I said, okay, once again, because some people you trust, and Reverend Jackson is what I trust. And he took me to meet this man named Clinton. Clinton didn't know me, and I didn't know Clinton. Reverend Jackson says, this is the woman, or the young lady, that you need to hire to be on your team to do Black media across the country.
Wow.
And I ended up working with President Clinton.
Wow.
Based on Reverend Jackson saying, this is the African American woman who grew up in Detroit, lived on Burlingame between Dexter and Homer, went to St. Cecilia's, was a part of the West Side Cubs, a sister from the hood. Just think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
That a brother from Chicago who ran for president tells another man who became president. Well, that wasn't enough for me. No, Clinton Bill says, Hillary, we got somebody to work for you. And I ended up being the women's division director for Hillary for her campaign. In between that, I worked with Kerry's campaign also.
Okay.
That's right. Sometimes I forget
Yes.
that Kerry ran for
Yes.
president.
Yes.
So I worked on his campaign also out of Detroit. And then I worked for Hillary's campaign too. The interesting thing about Hillary's campaign, Hillary, the first time around, I didn't work for her. Because I was going to, they called me and says, we want you to work for us to do what you did for my husband. And I said, fine, okay, I can do that. Then they called me back to Washington. They said, we have something to tell you. And you can't say anything, but we know we need to tell you. And they said, there's a young man named Obama who's going to run. And our reconnaissance says he is definitely going to run. And I said to them, now there's a big check ready for me to take with big figures on it from Hillary. I said, I can't do it. I can't take the check because I will never talk against the African American man who I don't even know yet. But I believe if you think that he is a contender, he must be a bad mamma jam.
I'm getting chills right now just listening to you.
Just amazing. I just said, and I hadn't seen him once, met him once, but I said, I just can't do that.
Right.
Because you got to be a pit bull at that level when you're working in media and doing politics at that level at the presidential level. You got to be like a pit bull. You got to take a bite out of the contender. And I knew how to do that well. And so I ended up working with Obama. And I said to both of them, I said, whoever wins, I will work for you next. And of course, Hillary decided to run. And I ended up being the women's division director for Hillary for the state of Michigan after Obama ran 2008, and 2012.
Okay.
And so the last one I did was.
Can I just say, I commend you for making that move. I mean, that's risky.
Yeah, it was
And
money on the table.
And there are not many people today who will stand up for our community in the way that you just did. Like, that's something that keeps me up at night right now. So the fact that you've modeled that for us is just incredible.
I just said, there's nothing in me. All I could see was Reverend Jackson, who ran a great race, and he won Michigan, by the way. He ran a great race. And then they said his brother, and there was nothing in this brother Obama in his history that said that he could not run, should not run, and could not win. I'm like, I'm on that train. I'm going to help this brother run, and I'm going to help him win.
Yes.
So it's about winning for the community. And I saw in him, I'm not a friend. I'm a person who he and I like, okay, is this the woman that we might want to have on the team? No, I said, no, I'm signing up. Because this is something about this race. And I want people to remember, they kindly forget, not every African American was supporting.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
They just could not get there to say, He is a winner. They couldn't get there. Their history said no African American man could run and win. There was nothing here, no history, no background, no conversation. But he stepped out there and the tears of joy when he won.
Yes, I still remember that moment.
True.
And you and I are supporting a candidate today, and I kind of feel like it's the same story.
I do too. And that's why I'm saying I just had a conversation. And I think I have a conversation every day about the guy that we know can win. See, I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to be in another campaign. I'm not going to spend my time. I'm going on a cruise. I'm going to party. I'm going to wear heels. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I said all of that. But then I met this brother. I read his history. I said, hey, all I know, he was put in our space in Michigan at a time that we need a voice.
Yes.
A loud, clear, precise, educated, intelligent voice.
Yes.
For the people.
Yes.
So everybody else get out the way. Move over. Get out the way so people can see and hear. And I want people to understand it's not just, it's for all the people in the state of Michigan. We need that particular voice. And then I keep saying to myself, Crier, if we can do it in Georgia, where the water is red,
right,
deep red,
surely we can do it here.
Surely we can do it here.
Why haven't you run for office?
People always ask me.
Yes.
That. I mean, what this is, I'm telling myself that when the congressional race, 2 years ago, the Congressional Black Caucus members asked me to run. They said, Vona, you ought to jump in there and run. I said, I'm not a fundraiser. I can talk myself into office, probably, but I don't know how to fundraise myself into an office because I believe it's about money and votes.
It is, but people love you. And people will go out there and they will fight for you and they will raise the money for you.
Isn't that something? Because it's about money and votes.
It is.
And you need a voice. And so here we are again. Here we are again today. And I just left a meeting and they were talking about who is going to run. Some of the same people are going to be in the race.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified.
Yes.
I'm terrified.
Thank you for saying that out loud.
Oh, yes.
Because, that's taboo, right? To actually just acknowledge the truth. We're recycling the same people over and over and over. There's a couple of episodes I'm going to air talking about this. One I've already recorded, going a little bit deeper in terms of my experience over the last couple of years. And then I'm going to do another episode where I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep it real. We're recycling the same people over and over. Many people who we know are qualified cannot even get an opportunity to get a look.
That's right. Not even a look, not even a conversation. Then you got people quietly saying, we got 8 people in the race and 6 of them shouldn't be in the race. I said, why don't you tell them? It's not, who's benefiting? We have not a person who looks like us, African Americans, in Congress. Not one person in Washington.
Right.
After 50-some years that Diggs and Conyers and others fought for us and held on to that seat, we let it go. I'm not mad at Cherie. I want to say it out loud. I'm not mad at Talib. I'm not mad at them at all. They did what we should do. I'm going to say this. I've not seen not one, I hope I got it correct, one person from India run against Cherie. Ain't even signed a name to register to run. I haven't seen that ever. To leave. I'm not seeing one Arab American say, I'm going to run against her. Not one. But no, my cousins, your cousins, everybody wants to be in the choir, but nobody wants to be the lead singer.
And even when we don't live where the choir is, we still jump in.
There was a choir they asked. They said one good person.
Yes.
Guess what? That one good person, though, could take the whole choir with them. One person.
Yes.
One place. I learned from Reverend Jackson. One message, One voice.
You know what I'm thinking about right now? I've often said to my husband, I feel like, because my husband's 15 years older than me, so we have these generational discussions, and I feel like the baby boomers, at times, I feel like dropped the ball and didn't allow us to sit at their feet and teach us and train us and teach us how to strategize, right? And I think about some of the stories I've heard about Oprah on TV where she pulls the people together,
Yes.
Sidney Poitier and some of the other people, and they tell the young celebrities, here's what we did, here's the advice we have for you today. I feel like we need that now.
We really
Like,
do.
can we sit at your feet and Jesse Jackson and all the other greats and talk about strategy? Listen, for the next 10, 20 years, I desperately need it. We desperately need it in our community, because if we continue waiting on the party who's struggling with messaging and struggling with strategy, we allow everybody else to create the narrative.
That's right.
Instead of creating our own narrative, and we just fall in line with it.
Right.
So I would love it if we could have an opportunity to do that. That would just
We
be
should,
amazing. We should.
I am who I am because not only my mom and dad, because I did sit at the knees of Dr. Dorothy Height, Shirley Chisholm, Adam Clayton Powell. I did Sidney Poitier, Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela was released, Reverend Jackson was allowed me to be a part of the press team when he came to the States. So I got to hone my craft for a man who had been away for 25 years. I'm like looking at this hero like, okay, get your act together, get your act together. But I had been trained by some of the best. Oldfield Dukes from Detroit. Oldfield Dukes was one of the best public relations directors ever. Sam out of the Jet magazine. I learned from them. They allowed, you know why they allowed me? Because I have to go back again and say it. Reverend says, we need to do what you just said, Crider. We need to teach. And the only way you can really teach what I know is to be there.
Right.
To be a part of it.
Right.
And so while I was living in Washington, D.C., I traveled and I learned. When I came home, somewhere a ball had been dropped. Yes, and I said, well, let me, Vonia, give it to somebody. All that I have learned, all that was taught to me, I still go back to the water. Reverend Jackson may be in a wheelchair right now, but baby, his mind is sharper than anyone's. He could challenge anyone on strategy, messaging, writing, and he can still speak the truth to power.
Yes.
And one of the things I told our good friend who's running for this, call Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr.
Yes. Yes.
He's one of the few that's still here and that he knows he won Michigan. He loves Michigan and he knows how to study. He was overseas trying to negotiate and won. If he can negotiate somebody to get out of, prison, surely he can negotiate somebody to go into the Senate.
You know you're going to have me up tonight, right? My brain is just going to be going all night long thinking about the opportunities that we have with our living legends who are right here, who we need to learn from, who can school us. There's a generation that feels left out.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a seat at the table. They've been told, wait until you have put in your dues, wait until you're older, all the stories that we have. And so there's not really a succession plan in place. I'm scrambling all the time when we're looking for somebody to fill seats in a congressional district or in another race, right? Within the political structure, the party has their short list.
Yes.
But the community needs our short list, and we need people who are trained. So my wheels are just spinning right now. Well, I have to circle back to you because I know we got like a few minutes left. So we'll have to circle back and talk about how we can put something like that, even if it's virtual, and we can have them online and they can pour into us, the wisdom that they have. It would just be incredible to do that.
Folk that just think about the Little Rock Nine. Ernie Green is still here. Right. A good friend of mine, Alexis Herman, first African American, head up the department with Bill Clinton. Donna Brazile, you know what I mean?
Right.
Reverend Jackson.
Right.
Reverend Jackson might be here soon. But my point is, there are people,
Yeah.
those individuals learned from the best.
Yes.
And we can have a summit.
Yes.
I keep telling
Yes.
people, I know, I call it children of the movement.
Mm,
Children of the
I
movement.
love it.
That's what we need to do.
I love it. As we close out, I'm going to share. I haven't publicly stated this, but there's a group of us working on pulling a coalition together to do the Black agenda, and so I'm going to circle back to you,
Please.
so that we can figure out how we can get
Please.
our generation, the younger generation, with the greats, and we can learn how to move forward and create this Black agenda for our state.
I
So
want to give it away.
thank you.
It's the only way
Thank you.
the only way I can treasure it is by passing it on.
I appreciate that.
That's the only way
I
I can treasure
appreciate it. I feel like we need a part 2 and a part 3 with Lavonia Perryman. It has been my honor to have you here today. We will make sure that we stay in touch. I'm going to post some things, some videos and other things that you're doing on social media. To our Agape Social Justice family, please take the time to go look up the Metro National Congress of Black Women and check out Lavonia Perryman's page. She is making moves. It's not stopping. Can you hear the fire? Can you feel the passion that's within her? I want to encourage you to follow her, to follow our other greats. We will make sure that we circle back and talk about how you can get engaged, whether it's in the political process or doing something behind the scenes, because we know that when we take care of ourselves and our community, there are great things that can happen and we can make history together. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you next time. Hey, Agape Social Justice family. Thank you so much for tuning in every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. We appreciate it. And as we told you before, we would have a merch store, and we do. This is our V-neck ladies shirt, and you can find this on agapesocialjustice.com. This is our logo, and it says love, truth, and justice, which is what you know we stand for. We also have a mug, and we have the logo on the mug. You can find this on the website as well as a phone case, a pen, a tote bag, and a number of other accessories, even a hoodie. You can find that on agapesocialjustice.com. Feel free to spread the word. Go to our social media on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on X. We're Agape Social Justice. And so look for us there, and we thank you. We appreciate you. See you next time.
Hi there, Agape Social Justice family. My name is Walt Kreider, Stephanie's husband. Of course, you know about the show and what we stand for, but I got a real stupid question for you. How many of you were offended when you saw that of Tyree Nichols, as well as the other homicides that the police have created throughout our country? Well, we have created an organization called Police to Protectors. That's police, the number 2, protectors with an S.org. What do we stand for? It's all about transforming the police into that of the protectors. Because what do we care about in our communities? You know, we don't care about being police. We don't care about being ticketed. We care about being protected. And that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of reimagining what the police, what law enforcement, what our protectors can actually reflect and bring to our communities. So not only just join this effort, because yes, we need your support, but also we need your financial support. Check us out, police2protectors.org.